Hello, hello. I am Melmo, bringing you prdwong versus MrByer. This is the bracket round 2, week 2, game 2 of these players. They will be competing for place in the third week. MrByer is up ahead a game, having played prdwong last night and taken the first game. So we'll see what they give us today. All right, we're off. The typical Link's House start. There's only a couple people who don't open with this these days, most of them being rather old school runners. prdwong has a very interesting sprite for glitch mode. Basically just a shadow with a bronzor on top of it, so you can see all your clips. Nothing but arrows so far, just both of them going for the hobo clip. Or not. prdwong baiting me by killing the guard. I guess he just wanted to set up the tree pole, but these guys also set one up. The Octorok's on the screen. And we got blue mail in the hobo, the nice safety, especially if you're going to do an early mountain rush. Alright, prdwong is rewarded with some really nice stuff in Sahasrarla's closet. You get a sword, a mirror, and half magic. And information that Eastern Palace is a green pendant. MrByer doesn't have the info yet, but he could press X anytime to get it. Here he is, prdwong pressing X for us. Got crystals in the dark world. I think one of them might have been red, but he has the mirror, so we don't really care. Alright, this is a more traditional way to hobo. It's a fake flipper from out of bounds. It's still pretty fast, even compared to the normal fake flipper spot. It's really fast. So he's gonna get nothing from here, but a lot of peace of mind that he's not leaving anything behind. Oh, he gets blue mail. Right. Some good safeties to start with. Surprised to see MrByer turn down 3 bombs. Early bombs are really good to have, but he does have 3 from a chest. So he has enough for some checks, and he'll get more from Graveyard Ledge if he goes there. But I think he likes to do this Death Mountain ascent up here by Lumberjack. We call it Lumberjack DMA because we're creative. It's a way up the mountain that lets you do things other than just rescue the old man. Because rescuing the old man on 3 hearts can be a little bit difficult, and you can find things later that might make it faster. But he usually does it on the way down at some point. But he has a chance to find more stuff on Spectacle Rock and in Tower of Hera. Using some of his precious bombs to hit switches in here. He doesn't have a lot of those. He can use 2 and then Death Warp out and have 1 left. But since he has to hit the switch, I think it makes sense to not do this because he's not going to climb with the big key just yet. He could, but he probably won't. Yeah, even just to escape, he has to Death Warp or use his last bomb. So this is going to be a big resource play for him, using the 3 bombs that he has. He might not even be able to continue. Yeah, he's choosing not to use his last bomb here. I think prdwong is Bronzor. Not sure though, I don't play Pokemon. All I'm seeing is a big old shadow that you can see. That makes it apparently very good for clipping. Nothing really to speak of in Blind's Hut. I mean, it's hard to top that Sahasrarla's closet with the the half magic and the sword and the mirror all in one place. Can't ask for much better from an early Saha play. An equally lackluster Cackwell. Just a bunch of rupees. prdwong going into Chicken Hut. MrByer soft locking a graveyard ledge descent. It's a really easy glitch to soft lock. It's probably the most soft lock glitch in the tournament. And it's really difficult when you have these cabbages. He's trying a different technique. There you go. It's supposed to be more consistent. And we got an Ice Rod on Sit Kid. So it looks like there was a bottle in the path somewhere, which I missed. Knowing that prdwong hasn't really been anywhere else, and we know it wasn't in Saw's closet, so MrByer will get that too when he comes there. Alright, he's gonna do the clip again. This time he's dropping to Graveyard Ledge, not King's Tomb. And this will get him more bombs, which is often the play people make here because they want bombs, not because they want the item. But the item's a nice bonus too, and he can even use that to hit switches in Hera without expending his bomb count. So he could go back up there and get the second item. He even goes back in to get more bombs. That's his only weapon. If he plans to do something like South Shore, he actually needs those bombs. He doesn't have any way to kill the Moldorms at the moment, other than throw bombs at them. All right, nice early big key in desert. That's what you want to see, so you don't have to backtrack to the spot and exit out the wrong door. And we like to exit out the right side door because it routes nicely into the overworld checks that are nearby. prdwong has found both items in desert and knows it, so he mirrors out at the first chest in the right side. It's a nice little time save. Gets to skip an entire room and not have to worry about this dungeon until later. He can just mirror to it when he's ready. Meanwhile, MrByer is taking his 10 bombs into the mini Moldorm cave, and that's his only weapon. prdwong finds a hook shot in Cave 45. Nope, Boomerang does not work on these. Yeah, what you kind of want to do is walk out the door and then bait the Moldorm. And then you can actually hide in the door and the Moldorm can't touch you. And usually if you are standing there, the Moldorm will try to charge you. And if you've placed your bomb closer to you, it's a little bit more likely that he'll hit you, or he'll hit the bomb. He finds a glove, but not much else. He's on half a heart, making good use of his boomerang, getting through this really dangerous area. Crab's giving him a lot of trouble, though. Now, prdwong's going to do the same checks, but he's armed to the teeth. He has a sword, which is so much. And then he also has the hook shot, which will insta-kill the Moldworms. Even the ice rod will kill them. Nope, no, dude. Aw, he dies. Those crabs are so unpredictable. This South Shore Rush opener can be quite tough because you're usually going in there on very little equipment. He's going to take that glove straight into back of escape. There's usually very little reason to put this off. You just do it on your next save and quit. prdwong will eventually show us what's in Ice Rod Cave. Wow, he's collecting green rupees from the bush crab because he's on 474. Just has enough to want single rupees. Alright, back of escape had a small key in Quake. MrByer is going to be a little disappointed by Kakariko. There wasn't really much to speak of here except for the bottle leading to the ice rod. Everything he wants is at Saucerless Closet, which is... It's a little unfortunate because usually there are two camps, people who go there right away and people who try to route it in with something. And he doesn't have anything to route it in with yet, so it might be a while before he gets there. There's the bottle. It was in Blind's hut. Yeah, he didn't have enough money for Zora anyway, so if he comes back to Ice Rod Cave, he'll be able to route those together. prdwong has found enough money to pay the fish, so he'll be able to do all the checks together. Oh, okay, so there's a moon pearl on the ledge, which is a little rough for MrByer if he doesn't find a way to route that back in. He might go back to Ice Rod Cave and do the sequence if he doesn't find anything else. If he goes to Saucerless Closet first, that might actually lead him away because the mirror does open up limited Dark World locations. It lets you do some things with Mirror Super Bunny. It lets you clip off the mountain and access a couple checks in Village of Outcasts. But what he really wants is this Moon Pearl, because that's going to make that so much faster. We kind of wanted Zora to be a scam, because if Zora had something good, we would have had to come back for the Moon Pearl, and that would have been a big pain. We all breathe a sigh of relief, and Zora has nothing when we see something good on the ledge. prdwong has a really good set of equipment to do the mountain checks all together, because he could go to Dark Death Mountain, start at Hookshot Cave, and then mirror to the Light World Dark Mountain. Or Light World Death Mountain. It's good stuff. It's really rare that you get the mirror and hookshot that early, and the Moon Pearl together. Now, prdwong's taking a different route up the mountain. This is a little bit more typical. Oh, nice recovery. Oh, he just screen wrapped. Okay, that's good. Okay, so this is a Death Mountain ascent that takes you directly to Old Man Cave. It's the modern way to do it in the speedrun. And most people in Rando will also choose this method because it's the closest one from the save and quit. All right, prdwong is also covering the same descent checks, starting with King's Tomb, which is a really easy to isolate check. Doesn't have anything good in it, but if it does and you don't check it, all right, MrByer doesn't have the mirror, but he knows he got both items, so he's death warping out of desert. See if prdwong saves Graveyard Ledge for the mirror check, because he can't offset a mirror portal to clip into Pyramid Fairy. And I think that's what he's doing right now. Oh no, he's clipping into Hera. He's just using the super speed method. prdwong will show us not only what's in this other chest in Hera, but he can climb. He can even climb traditionally because he has the big key. So this Hera is not locked by MrByer like it tends to be in this mode. There are 6 chests where the big key can be placed, and 2 of them are in the front. So you have a 1 in 3 chance that Hera is not locked by Meyer. All right, prdwong's using some buffers to assist that Hera pot. And gets to kill Moldorm in this trip. And hopefully also find the other item. And then we also like to find the small key, because the small key gives you a shortcut into Swamp Palace when you're normally supposed to use a Meyer key. It's a little faster to come from Hera. Now, MrByer is in a similar situation where he could climb, but he doesn't have a sword, so he can't actually kill the boss of this dungeon. So he's just going to leave. prdwong has taken a fall to Moldorm, which is something that can happen really easily when you're on Fighter Sword. It's not an easy fight. Yeah, you do always start with boots in glitch modes. Most of the clips don't necessarily require boots, but they're a lot faster with boots and a lot easier. So people who have boots will just have a huge advantage. So for racing purposes, we like to start with boots. 1-frame clipping is a whole nother game that people can do on their own, but it's not something we expect to have a 26-person tournament of. And prdwong takes down Moldorm. Interestingly enough, is not rewarded with the small key. The small key is locking itself in the basement. So we're going to have to open Swamp the traditional way, which from your perspective might either be from the front or from Meyer. It depends on which modes you've been playing. Yeah, we used to advertise this glitch modes as you start with boots. And then they just made a bunch of other modes that start with boots. So we have to sell it other ways now. They're fun in their own right. It's not just about the boots. You also get to twist your mind into knots about the logic in dungeons. prdwong is doing the route I was talking about before, where he starts in the Dark World, because he can do Hookshot Cave first. He even has the glove to make it faster. MrByer, meanwhile, has found the lamp, and prdwong will be getting that shortly too. But he's going to do these checks first. Hookshot Cave is a master sword. It's another sword MrByer is going to miss out on because he's missing the Moon Pearl, which is rather unfortunate because he would have had that if he hadn't died to the crabs. Yeah, Mira was in Sahasrarla's closet alongside a sword and half magic. It was quite the hype. And MrByer is taking an intentional damage, making me think that he has plans for this bottle. He's gonna buy a blue potion. Hopefully he also clips down to okay, here we go. He's gonna go to Sahasrarla's closet. He's gonna get his stuff here. That's gonna be good for him, but it might also distract him from the Moon Pearl. Oh, he took the intentional damage so he can drink the red potion. Okay, that makes sense. And then he could buy a blue one. But he likes to use fake flutes for his routing. With a blue potion, you can glitch the game into bringing up the flute menu in the dark world or the light world, giving you a free flute. Yeah, there's all that stuff. It kind of sucks to find that one if you know that your opponent opens with Sahasrarla and they had that earlier. But I don't know if he knows that. Some people like to vary up their routes. Oh, he's taking a nice little NMG spin speed route out of here to get to a clip spot. It's kind of funny. What's he doing down here? Oh, he's going to Ice Rod Cave. This is good. Look at this. Okay, so he is thinking about that check he left behind and using a little known clip that gets him to Ice Rod Cave. This might be the time to do this clip, is when you've orphaned it by dying. You do a couple down teleports. And you get a funny auto walk thing that just puts you here. And then you can do the check that you left behind. It's really good. Yeah, this is like entrance rando tech for those who like to mix their modes. It's also people who like to do early South Shore and die to crabs. As I do that too. I can say that. I've died to so many of these crabs. He didn't arm the water walk. He realizes that. Yeah, he'll need that water walk to get the items in Waterfall chest because he doesn't have the Moon Pearl to get the water walk state off of. So he'll have to bring one in. Little does he know he also wants that to get the Moon Pearl itself. Catfish has a flute. He might activate that. He has the mirror if he goes to Sahasrarla's closet. Or not Sahasrarla. Village of Outcasts. Go to Village of Outcasts. Don't bonk. Thank you. Yeah, good point. That flute's probably full of water. You should probably shake it out. Well, you'll see where the Moon Pearl is in a second. And you'll see a cool clip to get to it, too. Yeah, good. He's thinking about just getting it now, I think. But no, you should check Zora. Because you're here. It's usually nothing. Being very careful not to actually get the item, because that would put him in fake flipper and he wouldn't be able to get his Moon Pearl. Yeah, we joke about the scam, but we wanted to see a scam. Scam means that MrByer can get his Moon Pearl now and not have to pay the fish twice. He's using a, ooh, he got the, yes, he got the pixel. All right, there's a certain pixel you can clip on that puts you inside the fence, and it gets you straight to the item. It's cool, but also if you don't know what to do after, you will soft lock. Luckily, he knew what to do when he landed on the pixel. He might have even been setting it up on purpose. I might have to ask him about that after, because I only ever get that on accident. Yeah, that was one of the fastest Zora ledge clips you'll ever see. Both using the hook shot for hook speed and getting the pixel. It saves you the entire walk around. Yeah, that makes sense. If you have the hook shot, you can line up the pixel and not lose it by clipping poorly. We got a map check from MrByer, which I missed. Hopefully we'll see it from prdwong too, because he's in the Dark World right now. Pendants are TR and Ice Palace, thank you. And we already know the green pendant at Eastern because we pressed X in the Light World and also talked to Sahasrara. Not in that order. Yeah, Thiefstown and Red Crystal, both of our runners have mirror. So red crystals don't matter as much because you can clip to Pyramid Fairy with the mirror. But there is a rare case where you don't find the mirror and do have to get those. So prdwong has actually set up his mirror portal to do the clip I mentioned. He just hasn't been in yet. No, I think he has been because I saw him in the Dark World. Yeah, Pyramid Fairy first makes me think he's going to leave. Usually you do Pyramid Fairy last if you continue. He doesn't have the hammer, so he'd have to do some clips to get around. It might be faster to just go down to the portal at Link's house and clip in that way. MrByer is also going to get his flute from Catfish. Playing catch-up pretty quickly, considering how early prdwong got his Light World progression. It didn't take long for MrByer to come back. Alright, he's going to do a route that I really like to see, which is a fake flute out of Catfish. If you can manage to get to Catfish before Kakariko, you can actually do the Kakariko checks in the fake Light World here. But it's kind of rare to have those items. He is choosing to do the fake flute from the difficult side, but he knows his pixels. There you go. He's going to 7. That's going to take him to Hype Cave. I do think that Green Tunic Bronzor was regular color, but I don't play Pokemon, so I don't know. But traditionally, people who create sprites will use the sort of vanilla color for green, and then use alternative colors for the other males. Hype Cave has the flippers. Flippers and Hookshot is enough to do Swamp if you have access to Mire. And they will need that too, unless they do setup in the escape, which prdwong is not doing. No, he's not intending to steal a key from here. It's really uncommon to want to do that. I think you usually do that if Mire's a pendant and you need to go into Swamp and don't have a Hera key. It gets kind of complicated because this mode allows underworld clips. And by doing that, you can get into dungeons in the wrong state and use keys from one dungeon in another dungeon. And the logic expects you to bring keys from Mire all the way to Swamp to unlock it from the inside. It can also expect you to do that with Hera, but we got a big key, so that didn't happen. prdwong's taking a different way into the Dark World. He's using a portal, but he doesn't have the hammer, so he has to use a bomb clip to get out. Yeah, there would be a 1 in 10 chance we can do Swamp normally, but we are missing the hammer. So to actually get all the way through, we would need to clip in from Hera, but we wouldn't need the key to do so. We could just flood it and then go in from the front. But like I said, it is a 1 in 10 chance because the small key of Swamp gets placed without any logic. So it's not likely that it's going to be there. We have Ether from Mire, which is not the medallion we have. And even as far as you would want a full clear Swamp, doing so out of logic is not necessarily what you want to do. You might just find yourself in medallion go mode and then have to worry about the time you wasted in Swamp looking for what ended up just being the Mire medallion that couldn't be there in the first place. The nice thing about glitch modes is you don't have to worry about things like the mitts. You can just clip up from dig game to Village of Outcasts and continue your route. You don't have to go all the way around. prdwong is doing it though. He's gonna go into Swamp and see if it's actually locked by Meyer or not. And it's just a mushroom, that's not a key. So we are Meyer locked out of Swamp. Ooh, attempting to set up the hook speed coming out. Does not quite get it because there's an enemy, but you usually do that in the other direction, so it doesn't always work out the same. And he gets his map check in. So now he knows. Interesting that he did the swamp play before checking his map, not even knowing if it was a crystal or not. Now the YOLO swamp play might still pay off because the mushroom could lead to something like the Meyer medallion. That chest is accessible in logic. You just can't go any further. All right, we got a bow in Thieves Town. That could tempt people into Eastern, Pendant Eastern. It could also tempt you into Pod if you have the lamp and bow. That's a good sign there might be something good there, even if you don't have the hammer. It's not that hard to get back to Pod because you can clip there from Spectacle Rock Cave from the inside. So it's less of a risk leaving behind Helmasaur than it would be in a non-glitch seed. We might be seeing a pod play pretty soon. Oh, and the hammer's here. Or definitely seeing a pod play. We got the pod starter pack in Thieves Town. Just one crystal dungeon leading to the next. Ah, nice use of the cape. Good hallway, not even worrying about the pixel. prdwong is going to follow, get the same items. They're pretty close to each other, kind of doing the same checks. There's a couple differences where prdwong has done Dark Death Mountain. MrByer has not. prdwong has done the first chest of Swamp, but is a little bit behind on this route. MrByer does have the Moon Pearl. The tracker probably just ate it. Or maybe other Tom or tracker was so awed by MrByer's perfect clip and Zora Ledge that he... I've definitely done that before. Just been distracted by somebody's glitch and then not tracked the item they got. Much more likely the tracker just ate it though, because it's the tracker. We all know they do that. Give a shout out to him, by the way, helping us have these restreams on. We wouldn't have restreams if we didn't have trackers. Fire Rod is in back of Thieves Town. Oh, this is a heck of a dungeon. We got 3 progression items in here. prdwong's going to turn in that mushroom immediately. Wants to capitalize on that swamp play. Even though he didn't get the small key, which is what he really wanted to see. Or not wanted, really. Like, do you want to have access to swamp? Maybe not. Because if you're in Meyer Medallion Go mode and suddenly all of swamp is open, that's a lot more checks you have to do. Nice little detour though, because he hasn't. It was one more chance to get the hammer before going in here. Now, little as you know, hammer is just in here, which is a bit of a troll to people who like to put off thieves. But usually you do the first 4, so it's not going to be an issue. Yeah, Thieves Town had the bow, the hammer, and the fire rod. There's a lot of stuff in here. Now we got a flute activation from both runners, and you have the mirror and you're at Thieves Town, and it's this early in the game. Now the flute can be a really good tool for getting around, especially if the seed turns ugly later on and you have to run around the world turning in fetch quests. And MrByer is kind of doing the no-brainer play of doing the next clearable crystal on the path, which is Skull Woods, choosing to route, I want to say first chest in the front and then the back, which is a route that I see a lot more often lately because of how accessible this chest is. Wait, what happened to prdwong? He's in the front of Thieves again. Oh, did he mirror himself? Oh no. Sometimes I like to call the mirror the wall master in your pocket. Speaking of wall masters, MrByer is getting a little bullied in this room. Oh, he got the cape glitch? Okay, so if you're doing the dash through Hellway, this is a PSA for people. You can get a glitch where you uncape in the doorway or near it, and it'll just keep you walking and you'll be kind of soft locked in there. You should be able to cape again and get out of the soft lock as long as you have magic. But if you don't have magic, you'll be soft locked. But it looks like prdwong didn't know that, so he mirrored out and reset. Yeah, I completely missed that. I just looked back and saw prdwong was in the front again. Thinking it was pretty unlikely that he died on Blue Mail, and he doesn't have skulls. Or he doesn't have pots in here, so he's not in the fake Dark World. And he gets his hype in the other hype cave that we call Thieves Town. That was a close call with that door. All right, that was a kind of too close for comfort blind fight, but he got it. Maybe a little tilted from that mirroring and cape glitch that he got. He completely missed MrByer's moth fight too. It looks like he got it off without a hitch though. Oh, magic powder's up here. I guess MrByer will get that on the way out. Interesting that prdwong goes in here first. Which makes me think he's hoping that he finds all the items in Skull in the back and then doesn't have to walk out the front. This is an interesting route. He's checking Lumberjack because he hasn't done so yet. I've seen a couple races come down to who checks Lumberjack. If you don't check it in the early game, it's really hard to route it in if you don't find a mirror. So if you do have a mirror and you're in this area, it's probably wise to do so. Any mode where you start with boots, that Lumberjack is open to you as soon as you have the swords and the lamp. So, you know, they can happen in glitch modes as well. MrByer has the option to continue up the mountain. I know he likes to do this Death Mountain ascent in both worlds. So what he's probably going to do is link up Hookshot Cave, which he missed out on earlier not having the Moon Pearl. He also has the option to drop down into GT. I'm not sure which one he's going to choose because they're both really good options. He's going to mirror. Not what I expected. I think he wants to take care of Hera and then he can drop down. That's actually really clever. prdwong gets wall mastered in Skullwoods. That happens in this room because it's a troll room and it's terrible. All right, so MrByer's got better equipment for Moldorm. He's got the hammer. It's going to make this fight a little bit safer. prdwong was trying to powder the anti-fairy, but got the wrong enemy. That Moldorm deserved it. But he's going to have to go into Mothula with only 4.5 hearts and blue mail. So everything in this fight is going to do 1 heart of damage to him. He's pulling it off though. He already got 2 tempered equivalent hits. And now he can just pepper him with the half magic fire rod shots. But he's only on 2 HP, so this could get dangerous. I'm going to use that red potion. Because it's much better to use it than to not use it and die. Alright, very good. I think he would have died if he hadn't used it, so that was a good use of the potion. MrByer is taking Spike Cave, which usually means he's going to route it in with something, which is probably going to be Ganon's Tower, although he does have Pyramid Fairy open to him as well. He gets a sword. Not a bad find. And prdwong will probably get that too on the way down. Because Ganon's Tower is a very right play for both runners. It's between that and Pod. Okay, so Ganon's Tower has a lot of checks in it. And because you only need the Moon Pearl to get in, we don't junk fill it, because we don't expect it to be the last dungeon you do. So there can be a lot of good things here. Given that we have access to the entire left side, there's probably something good here. And if he finds the big key, he can also climb. Now, the one thing he's missing is the cane, which is fine because he needs the cane for go mode, but he also needs ether. So that could come back to bite him if Ether is here and the cane is not. But it's also not super likely given how many checks are available to him. All right, is this a mirror and a flute? Oh, he's returning to the... Okay, yeah, he has to mirror twice because he's in the fake dark world because he died. When you die in the dark world, the game doesn't expect you to be in the dark world without having Aga 2 defeated, Aga 1 defeated, so it'll just put you in the light world equivalent of that dungeon screen. And then you have to mirror twice to get to the real dark world and the real light world. He's doing a normal climb of the mountain, which makes you think he's going to pod. Yeah, this is pod. It's on the mountain. Just like it always is. Just like it was as a kid. Pod is just a giant cave. In fact, the whole underworld map is a giant cave. And you can just clip right to it from a different cave. Oh yeah, we got the GT big key, so we can climb. Alright, so prdwong, by being in a cave, is able to open doors without keys, because he has a lot of them. But he only opens one, because that's all you need to make the route better. Any more would be a waste of time. He's very careful not to open chests, because if he picks up keys in that state, they get essentially deleted. This one's just a heart container. What he's hoping to find is the other thing that's not a key, because the logic inside is still the same. So if he finds two things that aren't keys in the front, he can skip the bowlock side. Because by opening that door in the front, you can skip an entire key for the dungeon. Alright, he does not get lucky with the key layout of pod, so he does have to go to the bowlock side, because there might be an item there. Do the runners have the Hero Small Key? It is self-locking, not available to them. And prdwong did not set up key rat steal when he's in the escape, and MrByer hasn't been to the escape yet. Also, MrByer found silver arrows. I missed where that was, but they're probably here in GT somewhere. Oh. Uh-oh. Get your bombs out. There you go. Alright, Stalfos Room of GT at a bow. Not that it really matters, it's just silver arrows. Everyone's gonna get those because they're on the way to the big key. Alright, we got dual mimics on either side in different dungeons. So did prdwong find the big key and then go straight to Helmosaur? So I think that's what I saw. He has 2 items from Go mode. I'm curious if he goes back in if Helma drops one of them. I feel like when you make a play like that, you kind of have to. Otherwise, you're doing this because you don't have the mirror, but he does have the mirror, so... MrByer skipped right side of GT because he doesn't have the Cane of Samaria. He did do Hope Room. He just couldn't continue. Why does order matter? It doesn't. I was just curious. If it would be tempting, I feel like, to skip the entire back of pod if you find progression here. But that's just psychology. And there's nothing, it's just the compass. Helmosaur first does have the advantage if you do find enough items to know that, like, for example, the big chest is a map or compass, you could skip it. But you can't skip Helmosaur because it's a crystal. So it could aid on your key counting and optimize your route a little bit. You do have to do this extra transition to get inside. Yeah, Tyler Room is also cane locked. Everything there is cane locked because there's a switch on the ground in Hope Room that you have to hold down with the cane block. And everything past that requires the cane. MrByer is also showing the lack of cane in this room. Normally made very easy with the cane is a little less straightforward when you're only armed with other weapons that you may not have practiced with as much. Oh man, Helmosaur first would mess up my key route. I would do what he did, which is miscount keys and open Harmless Hellway. Because you use an extra key getting to Helmosaur. And Kane is upstairs in GT. Alright, time to mirror out and check the right side, right? No, we're gonna orphan it forever. Because we just got a whole bunch of checks open to us. Yeah, there's a reason a lot of people who go to GT will choose access to Ice Armos through either wing as criteria, not necessarily being able to full clear it. It can be tempting, but so many times you just find something good there. It's worth going in twice. And in this case, oh, nice triple. In this case, you got something required for that interior and one of your 2 go mode items. The nice thing about Medallion Go Mode, especially in prdwong's perspective, is he knows that it's not in Swamp. And he knows that it's not in Mire. So that's 2 dungeons he doesn't have to worry about if he gets the cane soon. Which he will, because he's on the way to GT. This is a very close race. It kind of depends on how many checks MrByer does that prdwong has already done. Like, he'll probably lose Hookshot Cave. And then how long it takes him to do pod, and if he can go mode pod, he can save a lot of time because the big queue is in the front. Curious if he takes this to Hammer Pegs. He can do that from here. He can swim into the moat using a clip. Hammer Pegs doesn't really get much better than it does now. Oh, he actually hasn't been here yet. No, he's actually going to mirror to the escape and orphan the Pyramid Fairy, which is a fine play. Like, it takes a long time to set up that glitch, and you're already here. So you can take care of the Sphere 1 checks and not worry as much about the 2 things you're leaving behind when you have so many crystals open to you. MrByer did Hookshot Cave? Oh, I missed that. Yeah, that makes sense, because they're on the same sword level. Yeah, I guess the escape is a better option, because that's what he's doing right now, that prdwong has already done. Given that he's in Mire Medallion Go mode, it might not make sense to do key rat steal because he knows he needs that medallion anyway. And he's probably just going to do Mire into Swamp once he has it, instead of trying to be fancy about stealing the rat. But there is an item in Darkross, so he still has to go there. GT right is awkward because Kane is at the top. And you need the Kane to do GT right. So you'd have to clip up again. Basically do an entire separate GT clip just to do those 5 checks. Which is fine. It's 5 checks. It's decent, but he has crystal dungeons he can do. So like it makes a lot more sense to do pod and TR first. And then when it comes down to, oh, TRs are pendant. Okay, do pod first, maybe, and then consider going back to GT. In fact, I would consider TR before GT, even though it's a pendant. I really hope this doesn't come down to a pick a pendant, because we do have 2 available to us, and Ether can just be an Ice Palace or TR. I hope they pick the same pendant. Oh, he is going to open the key rat door. Alright, save and quit. Mirror out, because he's got places to go. So the time that prdwong took to do the bottom of GT, MrByer did the escape. So yeah, they are almost exactly just trading dungeons. They got pod on one side and GT climb on the other. And MrByer will probably do pod, not in go mode, because it's the next natural play. But if he could go mode it, like if it's here in Hammer Pegs, he's in really good shape, because he can, even if prdwong goes there next too, he can go mode pod and save a ton of time. And neither of them checked the bat, because of where they found the powder, it was at Bumper Ledge. And both of them had places to go after Bumper Ledge. Yeah, I wouldn't call it a good seed until Ether shows up in a crystal dungeon and not in a pendant dungeon. If it's in a pendant dungeon, then it's terrible, because then it's just eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Which pendant dungeon has my go? Yeah, it is very kind on the safeties. Like, they have a lot of really good mobility tools, so even if it isn't a pendant, they'll still get to it pretty quickly. All right, we got a bunch of people from SpeedGaming who I think we're watching the Rando Daily Race. So we got some explaining to do. What is this? Why are we in pod, but it's a cave? This is Hybrid Major Glitches. It's a glitch mode where indoor clips are also in logic. Otherwise, the logic is the same as overworld glitches. What that does is it lets you clip into dungeons from other dungeons and from caves. There's 4 clips that are in logic for it. We saw one of them, where you can go from a cave to pod and skip the moon pearl requirement. But there's a much more important one where you can go from mire to Hera to Swamp and actually bring mire keys all the way through those dungeons and use them in the other dungeon. And the logic is built around that. We'll see that at the end when they do Swamp, because the small key is not in the front. We already saw that. The small key is not available. They have to come from mire to open it. And there's the cane for prdwong. All right, where does prdwong go after this? He might do the same thing, except he'd already done the escape, so he can go straight to Hammer Pegs, which is really the only place to go other than save and quit. I don't think there's anywhere else he can go from here that actually has anything he hasn't already done. Also, a really good triple in the same pattern. I think this one's a blue ball. Yeah, that's unfortunate. That would have been a double triple from both runners if it didn't blue ball. But they both get really good Aga fights. And there's that big key. MrByer is going to do a more traditional route through pod where he does the back first. This might help him count keys and not open Harmless Hallway, or it might just be more of a comfort zone thing. Or honestly, like I wouldn't have thought to go to Helma either. Like that's, I would say for him though, it makes more sense because he's one item from go mode. So if Helma has ether, then this is pure time loss. We know it doesn't, but from his perspective, it might. He's got some frames left. I've gotten really used to looking at these bomb flashing patterns. Yeah, so I know how many are left. It's not that many. Moldorm bounces a curse. All right, he's got another try. He got it this time, except, yeah, he's there. Perfect. prdwong has also taken the same route as MrByer. So we'll see how much ahead prdwong is because he's already done Pyramid Fairy, and we'll have finished this check before MrByer finishes pod. And everything else is going to come down to who goes where after this, because there are some choices available. This is kind of the end of the route where there aren't really choices. There are just like natural progression routes. Like naturally you go to your crystal dungeons, naturally you go to GT. We're reaching the end of that. Now they're going to have to start making some tougher choices about where to go. I think Pendant Eastern. I forgot there was an entire other pendant dungeon available. This is 4 items available. prdwong is on the wrong bump. He's going to soft lock. Yeah, he was on the bump that you citrus clip on. I can see why he would do that. It's a really common mistake for speedrunners who are used to citrus clipping, which is a one frame technique that you do in the speedrun when you don't have the boots. Yeah, duh, just go to the other pendant dungeon where it clearly has ether. I can't believe you picked pendant A over pendant B. It would actually make sense for MrByer to mirror to Eastern. If he's going to pick a pendant, this is his closest one. And I really hope he does that, because I want to see both of them do the same thing and not have it come down to pick a pendant. Yeah, MrByer is behind by the time that prdwong has been in Eastern. Which is almost going to be the entire dungeon minus the back. Probably going to be just everything except the boss. Assuming they go to the same places. If they split up and do different pendants, then it's up in the air. As far as I'm aware, I don't think there's really any overworld available to them that's in logic, except for MrByer didn't do Pyramid Fairy. And didn't check the first chest of Swamp. Which I guess is overworld. It can be. You can kind of think of first chest of Swamp as overworld. prdwong did Spike Cave because it had a sword and he has all of them. He would have done it on the way down to GT. Yeah, there are... Both of them have what we call mirror wraps, which are out of logic ways to get in. But they also have in-logic clips that you can use to get in. But most of them will probably use the mirror wrap because it's the fastest way to get in. All right, we got a mountain save and quit, not Eastern. So this might turn the table because prdwong hasn't found Ether yet in this dungeon. And all he has left is the boss and the green pendant turn in. And MrByer is going either to GT or to TR. And I think it's TR because he corrected his camera. Oh, he's going to Swamp? Huh. Okay, so I think what he's doing here is an information play. He's going to steal the key. This is a key rat steal. He doesn't know that the first chest of Swamp is a mushroom. From his perspective, it might actually be the key. And if it is, then Ether can be there. He doesn't quite remember the clip. You do want to have your... You want to press up against the switch vertically, so just walk down into the switch. And then you can just walk a little bit. I see. So he lines up a queue up high and then walks down. Oh, he was on it and then he moved off it. It's a little sad to see that. But he gets it the second time. And prdwong picks up the green pendant. This is our moment of truth. I think we know Ether's not going to be where MrByer is, but also what he's doing here is required anyway. So what he can do is he can find out that Swamp is not going to have Ether in it, and then he can just go mode the dungeon. And that's something that you have to do anyway. So it's not really a waste of time, except that he's spending a little extra time setting up this rat steal. Yeah, I'm not sure why he does the lineup that way. I'm assuming he just kind of learned it on a certain visual cue and doesn't know the visual cue for being on the crystal. All right, he's wisely using a bomb method for Haripot because if he accidentally uses that key, then he loses all the time he spent. And the fastest way to get it back would probably just be to do Hera Basement and get the Hera key back. prdwong is choosing Ice as his pendant. So this is going to be a mirror wrap to Ice Palace. Yeah, we kind of have like 4 pendants available to us if you include Ganon's Tower, which is 5 items. It's more items than Ice Palace has. I don't know. I wasn't really counting. I know we saw the map, and I know that the small key won't be in the compass room. So it's at least 3 items. prdwong has chosen to steal a key for Ice. I'm not sure if that is actually useful when you have the cane. But people do like to take that key because it makes the routing a little bit nicer. At least he'll have a guaranteed access to Ice Tea Room if the key layout is bad. I think people are... I think Key Rat Steal is catching on. There was a time when we were wondering if we would ever see it in the tournament, and now everyone's doing it. No, don't open that one. It's actually probably safe to open it because Ether is probably not here. It's a 1 in 10 chance that it even can be. He opens this one because it's either Ether or it's the small key or Ether's not here. Okay, he doesn't open it, but he can open it on the way back. Yeah, I didn't really explain what key rat steal is, but we kind of saw it in action. He clipped into the sewers from Hera, and the game still thinks he's in Hera, so when he picks up the key from the key rat, it gets assigned to Tower of Hera, and then he can clip to Hera, from Hera to Swamp, and then use that key in Swamp. Normally you're supposed to use a MrByer key there. But he wants to do Swamp now because he wants this information play without having to just walk to the chest. And now he can just go mode the dungeon because he knows it's not going to be here. Oh, he's not go moding it. I hope he knows. Oh, I hope he knows. I know I know that mushroom is available to him now as a logical check. But the bomb wall couldn't have had anything he wanted. He has all the swords and the silvers. So it makes me think he might not quite know the logic. prdwong found a book in Eastern. That's either really good or really bad, and we're about to find out because he's going to follow it. Okay, he skipped a chest. That's good sign. Maybe he was just opening it because it was on the way and it was muscle memory. Sometimes you open chests in Swamp hoping for a small key that lets you skip the water room at the end. Like opening these chests makes sense. Because now he can skip the Tektite in the back. And I think that saves a little time. Eastern did not pay off. I mean, it can still be pedestal. So it's not completely dead. Purity is just going to route Ether into TR. No, he's going to go to GT. The other pendant dungeon. Yeah, these are all equally valid plays. Swamp is a little spicy, but MrByer seems to be treating it appropriately by not opening too many chests. And this is a dungeon prdwong is going to have to do at some point. And he's going to have to do it in much the same manner, except he's going to clip from MrByer. Well, we saw Obama's tablet first. He went there from a flute, and then he fluted to 1 and did Ether. Okay, so okay, good. MrByer can route this into. He's in the correct world. He can go to Ice Palace. He's not gonna go to. He's gonna do the big bomb. I guess he can do that. He can do the big bomb because he didn't do Pyramid Fairy. He orphaned it by checking the escape from the mirror, from the pyramid instead of from the clip. So he can do the clip again, but this is probably faster. And their Ether is in the right side of GT. So Seed is mean. You literally could have saved time by mirroring out when you found the cane and just doing that right away. It would be a clownish play, but theoretically you could. Well, there it is. It was pick a pendant. The pendant was GT. So prdwong is in go mode. Very likely to take this race. MrByer can go back there right now and will be Swamp Palace ahead. I don't know if that's enough. Yeah, I can't imagine prdwong. He full cleared ice except didn't fight the boss. And then did Eastern, which is also a dud. That would feel pretty bad. But you don't know what your opponent does. Oh, careful. Okay, good. Those slopes can be a little wonky. You can get knocked right into the collision and soft lock. Now he's going to do Desert first. That's going to refill his health and magic, making Mire 2 a little bit faster. Or at least easier. Alright, MrByer is turning in the mushroom he got in the one logical chest in Swamp. Picking up another blue potion. He's not fearing for his life. I think he just wants to travel. He's picking up 3. I don't know if he's going to fake flute 3 times. Oh, he's going to do Eastern. Okay, so this is going to put him further behind. He had a chance if he did GT first. And then would be basically GT versus his clear of Swamp already being done. But unfortunately, he's going to lose the time that he gained by not doing Eastern, by doing Eastern. That's how these randos work. Sometimes you just pick the wrong pendant. Yeah, MrByer is up a game in this series. So if this continues on the trajectory that it appears to be on, there will be a game 3. Game 3 has actually not been scheduled yet. They might do that after this race. So keep an eye on the schedule to see when that's going to be. You can also follow the runners, even when they leave the tournament, because somebody does have to get eliminated. Both of them are very active in the glitch racing community, especially MrByer. He likes to do a lot of the daily challenges, so you can see some really spicy modes from him. Participates regularly in the weekly races. And prdwong is a long-standing glitch runner, has made several tutorials. In fact, one of the first tutorials I ever watched from him was his Swamp Palace clip tutorial, which we use in this mode. So thank you for that. prdwong is on a key hunt. He needs 1 small key and 1 big key. The small key is for Swamp and the big key is for Mire. And he has that. So I'll probably kill Vidi first. Because if he does Swamp first, that'll actually take him to the Swamp overworld screen. And then he will have to walk back here. So it's more efficient to kill Vidi first and then go to Swamp. That was actually a really nice key layout. Gave him just enough stuff to do both dungeons without making him walk a really long way around. And he got to skip the Firelock side. Or at least he got to skip the cutscene chest. We might get to see a cool clip from him when he does it, because you can't do the bomb clip if you haven't moved the wall. So you have to do some kind of one frame method on the other side, which is actually not that hard to do. It's just a little bit different. Okay, another decision point after turning in the green pendant. He's going to get the book, and that's going to... Well, he's going to get... It's a book in Ice Palace. Actually, I kind of missed which dungeon had the book. Ice Palace happened very quickly. Must have been really front-loaded with the items. Okay, it was in Ice. So if he goes to GT next, he's probably still behind, but not nearly as much. Did prdwong get all 3 items in Ice after Icebreaker? Because that's incredible. I looked away and he was not in the dungeon anymore, and I didn't know what happened. Hey, this is good. MrByer is doing the right thing. If he had not done Eastern before now, he actually probably would have been very close. But PRD just has Swamp left. MrByer has to do Desert and Mire and get this Ether Medallion. As long as prdwong doesn't make any major mistakes doing key, unlocking in Swamp, which can happen. I've seen it before. You can walk through a door without bringing a key with you and end up not being able to unlock it. He has 2, which is 1 more than you usually have going in, so that's really unlikely to happen. But this is his game to lose. Yeah, MrByer has gained a little time skipping Tile Room as well, which makes sense when you're 1 item from Go Mode and Tile Room is a key. Probably a key. Actually, I don't know. MrByer left a key upstairs, so it's hard for me to count. I think prdwong came in there with 2. Opening the chest in the wrong order. There we go. But yeah, that's a pretty rude layout, having the cane be upstairs and making you double dip GT. This would have been a much more interesting seed if Mire was a pendant, because it would have heavily rewarded the key rat steal. Alright, MrByer is taking a kind of traditional speedrun route to Mire by bomb clipping out of this portal. Even though you have the hammer, it is a little faster to bomb clip out, as long as that bomber doesn't bother you too much, which unfortunately he's camping the spot where he needs to clip from. He's also on the wrong pixel laying the bomb, so this isn't going to work. Yeah, he needs to be a couple, like 3 pixels lower. Now he needs to be 1 higher. There we go. No, he got it. So we've got Go Mode of Swamp versus 2 dungeons, and Mire is going to be a bit of a key hunt. I suspect that MrByer will be on the way to Vitreous when prdwong finishes, or just finishing up. Like maybe just Ganon behind. Oh, the fairy didn't heal him enough for full beams. What What a tease. Still nice to have, though. It's a good safety. He could save a little bit of time by skipping Firelocked entirely and going straight to lobby. Knowing that he doesn't have to clip the swamp, that might incentivize him to do so. A very nice phase 2 quick kill from prdwong on Argus. And MrByer does go for the Firelock chest, but chooses to go back to the lobby, which is going to be good for him. Now, prdwong just has to walk to Ganon because he already did Aga 2. And both runners. Klein GT found the cane up there and then had to go back in for the Ether Medallion. One nice thing about these modes is, like, at the end of the game, it almost feels like you're playing a fast Ganon because you usually have already done GT. And it didn't feel like a waste of time GT. You probably found something good there. Alright, it looks like I was right that they'd be fighting their bosses at roughly the same time. MrByer heading to Viddy and prdwong killing Ganon. Which goes to show how close they were until MrByer went to Eastern. That would have been... I think that may have decided the race. But of course there were a lot of decision points that decided the race. And prdwong also went to Eastern. Taking a somewhat slower route through Swamp was a choice. That made sense to him because he didn't have the information that prdwong had. Ice Palace being fast, having 3 items really close to the front, was a good boon for prdwong. Having done an extra pendant dungeon didn't punish him as much as it would have. Alright, and prdwong has killed Ganon. And MrByer has killed Vitreous. Perfect sync boss kills. Both of them in their fanfares at the same time. And that is official racetime.gg time of 1:28:17. Taking this to a game 3. Keep an eye on that schedule. They haven't scheduled it yet. But it will be, I'm sure, as hype a match as this one was. Both of these runners are pretty closely matched. I think MrByer has a lot of experience routing these glitch modes that he uses to his advantage in pretty much every race I've seen him do. Oh, he still has to do Landmo as well. Now he's going to finish this out, kill Landmo and then Ganon. I forgot about Landmo. You usually do that first, so I kind of wrote it off. Though it's probably faster to do it last because you can flute to 5. So one less mirror transition. Really nice silver arrows, Landmo. And we are joined by prdwong, GG, taking it to a game 3. If you are talking, we can't hear you. All right, sounds like he's sorting out some mic issues. He'll be up shortly. Hey, GG.
GG's. I forgot I had push to talk on.
Ah, that would do it. Probably from all the commentating that you've been doing.
The one time.
The one time? Hey, that's all of it. How did you feel about that really rude ether location?
I got confused. For some reason, I got it in my mind that it was not possible to be behind Samaria, which is why I went to Eastern and Ice first.
Huh. Ether couldn't be behind Samaria.
Because I found Samaria up at the top, and I thought there was at least one key in Randomizer.
I'm trying to think of how Ether can lock the cane, other than just cane being in mire or swamp.
Yeah, I think for some reason my logic was all messed up.
This mode will do that.
It's totally not possible, huh? Because if it was...
Yeah, all the chests have to be available in GT. So the key layout will allow you to do right side. But it was... I didn't know if tile room was going to be a key. It's so confusing keeping track of. You got 27 chests to keep track of, and then you have to the entire time you have to be thinking about the whole mire thing. Mire Swampera. You had the benefit of having checked it early and knowing that it was a small key, not a small key in the front. MrByer didn't, so he actually went there early just to get that information and then go moded swamp. He had to do the whole key rat steal sequence to do it, so he lost a little bit of time, but it made sense for him to do. And he has finished, killed Ganon. And he'll be taking second place with the race time of 1:32.56. Not too far behind, considering it was a pick a pendant at the end. I'm surprised nobody did TR. That was so tempting. As soon as you get Kane, you got Ice Rod, Fire Rod. I immediately forgot it was a pendant and said, just do TR, and realized that actually we have like 5 pendants to choose from.
Yeah, I was worried at the end, but I thought, you know, GT's right here, it's quick. If it's in here and I just do TR for nothing, then I'll be really sad.
Yeah, it is very dense. TR has got a bunch of keys in it, and GT, you've already found them, so you just go straight to the right side, and you know that there's not going to be any keys behind tile room, like beyond tile room, because the big key wasn't there. So it makes sense to do that. And knowing also that there wasn't really any other better time to do it than to just do it next. This would have been kind of a rough qualifier, because somebody would have done that and taken a really good time.
Yep.
All right, GG, MrByer.
Yes, GG.
GG's.
You guys got your game 3 coming up.
Yeah.
How are you guys feeling going into that?
Well, I did. even though I lost, I feel like I did better than the first game. So I think I'm feeling good. Feeling pretty good.
Yeah, you've really, I mean, taken this mode by the horns. Like, your routing has always impressed me. Every time I watch you do something, I learn something about routing. Did you teach yourself glitch modes as you learned? Because it almost feels like there's a kind of a people who taught themselves and then people who learn from each other. People who teach themselves often show up some really innovative strats that aren't really part of the meta, but then become part of the meta because we didn't think of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm in general a very fast learner, so I learned most of it pretty much all on my own, or at least the tech. I think the theory I learned on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Everything helped me develop it into like an actual route.
So neither of you is out of the tournament yet. Do you guys have any plans on what, in the future when the tournament's over? Are you guys going to get into No Logic? I know prdwong has been running No Logic for a while. But there's some talk about maybe having a tournament next year. Would you be interested in that?
If there is a tournament on No Logic, that might actually incentivize me to actually learn No Logic.
Nice. So what you're saying is if there is going to be one, we should announce it early enough so that people can learn how to play the mode. It doesn't take an entire year to learn No Logic, I promise. You can learn it in like a couple weeks. At least to the point where you can get through a seed.
I mean, I've done No Logic exactly once.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
All right. Any final words before we wrap this one up?
No. Just hope it's a good game for the last one.
Yeah, I hope so too. Hope we get to see some friendlier item placements. It was a really friendly seed up until that ether. All right. Well, if you haven't already, give the runners a follow. And also thanks to our tracker, Other Tom, for making this possible, keeping those items on the board for us to look at so we can keep track of what's going on. And thanks to SpeedGaming for putting on this restream for us. I have been Malmo, and that will be the races for tonight. Come back tomorrow. There's 2 more on the board. There's one for, I'll bring that up real quick, but I believe it's Krithful versus Farime first, and then one more after that, which I will bring up real soon.
Well, thanks for everything that you do, Malbo. This tournament's really fun.
I'm glad you're having fun. Yeah, we got Tam versus Spleeby as the night race. All right, tune in for those. Those are going to be really fun. Tam versus Spleeby is a game 3. Krithful versus Farime is a game 1. And then there will be a whole slew of races on the weekend that you can watch.